Hello. I wanted to talk a little bit today about a technique that is referred to as dominant hand versus non-dominant hand writing or journaling. So what this does is it allows the maybe insecure part of yourself, the judgmental part of yourself, the self-deprecating part of yourself, right? All of those thoughts and feelings and behaviors. It allows that part of you to essentially have a voice, okay? And in having a voice, you allow yourself then to respond back to that part of you. So a lot of times I like to think about this or reference this when I am working with clients that may be struggling with like a lot of negative self-talk and where they believe ultimately that maybe they're not worth it, that they can never change, that they're bound to fail again, right? All of those negative thoughts. And I refer to that as like our broken parts, right? Because what happens is we all start out, as little kiddos, little babies, right? Happy, content. We're not yet impacted by the negativity of our world, our society, our family units, all of that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, as life goes on and as we continue to grow and we become kiddos, like as young as 3, it could be, or even earlier sometimes, that idea of ourselves and how we see ourselves begins to become distorted. Okay. So I've referenced this before in terms of talking about our authentic self versus like the broken pieces. So what the dominant, non-dominant hand works well with is you allowing yourself to recognize, okay, like this is a broken piece of me, right? That was broken from maybe childhood. Now, when I reference broken pieces, I don't mean that you are broken forever, that da 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 da. No, it just means that this is an area of your life that needs to be healed. Okay. So you have this broken part of you that comes across as maybe being insecure, right? Where you have that constant like self-criticism. So that insecure part of you, right, starts coming out more and more, and you're trying to make these positive changes in your life. You're trying to accept yourself. You're trying to lose weight. You're trying to eat better. You're trying all these things. But then that critical part of you, that insecure part of you comes out and says, nope, you're going to fail. You're not good enough. You can't succeed in this area, right? So that becomes like a mask in front of you. Well, that mask, that broken part, that all started generally from like our childhood experiences. So what we do with the dominant, non-dominant handwriting is we essentially write to that broken part, understanding that that broken part came from our own maybe necessity to have some control, even though it ended up being in this unhealthy way. So as a kiddo, something may have happened where you became more self-aware and then became more critical of self. And out of that experience, this need for protecting yourself developed, right? And then that's where like the mask, the broken pieces, that insecurity, all of that comes and grows out of. So when we're writing, we have our authentic self, right? Who we know that we are capable of succeeding. We are capable of moving forward with these positive changes in our life. We can most definitely love ourselves and be comfortable in the skin that we're in, right? So that's your authentic self. That's who you were born to be. And unfortunately, shit happens, life happens, and all of this stuff, these broken pieces begin to emerge. And then they become that mask. So you write your authentic self, your adult self, your present self, right? Writes with your dominant hand to that broken part, to that child. So you could name that part of you Judgy Genevieve or something, right? Or red man, red woman, if it's like anger, or I mean, my gosh, there's so many different, ways that you can take this and how you can implement it. And so you name that part of you, right? That insecure part. And then you write to her and you say, hey, I get it. I understand that you felt that this was a way to protect yourself. But guess what? You don't need to do that anymore because I can protect myself. I get where you're coming from, that insecure part, but I'm stepping into my power and I no longer need you to come and try to fight my battles by pulling myself inward and allowing that insecurity to manifest further. So you have like this little conversation with yourself, and no, you're not like split personality or anything like that, right? This is an exercise towards healing. And then you allow your non-dominant hand to essentially write back. Yeah, but what if XYZ happens? What if my husband doesn't support me? What if my friends continue to act a certain way to me and then that triggers my insecurity? What if and just as if that insecure part was writing back. And then you would counter that with your dominant hand, with the authentic you. And what you would probably tell other people, but that you can't tell yourself. Right? And you have this little conversation with your dominant hand and non-dominant hand. And you're stepping into your power. You're recognizing the pain of that insecure self that started from childhood on and has been reacting repeatedly over the years. So in doing this, you're raising your conscious awareness, you're stepping into your power, you're embracing your transformation, and you're no longer letting those broken pieces call the shots in your life. You're taking back your control. Not in a mean, aggressive, like, oh, I hate that part of myself, but in an empathetic and kind and understanding and compassionate way. Because again, most of the time, those broken pieces and then how they manifest in our life, that is a direct correlation to a need that we had at that period of our time in our life. So maybe in middle school, you were getting bullied and then you put on the protective layer, but inside you were kept dialoguing with yourself saying, oh my gosh, nobody likes me. Oh, why am I like this? Da, 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 da. And that's where that part of you came forward. Well, you were no longer that middle schooler, right? You are an adult. You are working towards your change and your transformation. And you can step into that with that conscious awareness. So give this a try and see what comes up. Post in the comments below kind of your takeaway. And then I want you to do some of the non-dominant hand journaling and see, I would love for you to post then in the comments like your reflections on that process. All right. Be well, lovely ladies, and I will talk to you soon.